Hey guys, welcome to another weekly focus. I hope you guys had a great week, and we're just going to look at the pairs I had for this week or the trades I had for this week, and I'll show you what I'm looking out for next week. So let's do a quick trade recap, and I'll show you the trades I had already. So the only trade I had was US30, and this is the only position I went in on, and I was looking for these sales. I'll show you what I had right here. So here was my initial attempt right here. I was looking for the sales, and my intention was to take prices all the way to this area right here with the sales. But once this started playing out, I'm going to show you. So once this started playing out to an area like this, so we had this initial push from the sellers, then we had buyers coming in. So I was looking at this position at the same time I was looking at the DXY. So the DXY had this sales coming down, so I knew there was a high possibility we'll see some buyers coming in again, or like this buying pressure coming in, and so I had to close this position at break even. So my US30 trade, I didn't really make anything out of it, so I closed it at break even, and that was the only trade I had for this week. So just US30 and just a break even. Again, this is something that is very important. You don't have to trade every day, you don't have to trade every week. If you see your positions or if you see your setups, then you can go in. If you don't see the setups, and you just sit and watch how price is playing out, and you wait for the next best possible opportunity. So that was it for me this week, and just US30 and just a break even. So I'm pretty happy, because if you're not losing money, then you're indirectly making money. So let's look at what we have for this week. Alright guys, so here's a DXY, and we're starting with the DXY on the daily time frame. Now the big picture thing on the DXY again, you have this impulse, you have this correction pivot point, impulse, correction, and price took off from an area like this. Now this is not my concern, because we've been stuck at an area like this, so I'm just going to zoom in at this area right here. So this piece of price action is what makes sense to me right now. This piece right here, here's the only thing that makes sense to me right now, because if you're looking at the bigger picture thing, it's just going to take time for that price to digest and for price to do everything. So this is a piece of price action I'm paying attention to. Now looking at this again from the daily time frame, where is price at and where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So we had a movement all the way from 100 flat, and my initial buyers on this was a test of this area right here of 110 flat. So we had buyers coming in. So if you see there's this trend line here, every time price pull back to an area like this, we had buyers making an attempt at the upside, taking out these highs, taking out previous highs and stuff like this. So up until this point, when you look at this structure right here, so we've taken out this area right here, we've taken out this area right here, we took out this area, and we had this area right here as a new high. So we've not taken out these highs right now, so we're still looking at this, and there's still a big possibility, or there's this high possibility or potential for prices to move again to the upside. So what I'm looking at right here is a very simple thing. I'm using the psychological levels and I'm using the trend line. So I understand the price has broken out of this trend line, and I can see the sellers coming in right here. I understand there's this violation of prices taking out this trend line. So just looking at this, everybody looking at this has the intention that price is headed to the downside. Again, you're looking at this thinking price is headed to this area, which I would say it's correct. So it's correct for you to say price is headed to the downside, but you need to understand we need to digest this piece of information here. So the only way I'm going to switch my buyers and say price is headed to the downside is if we take out these lows right here. So if these lows get taken out, so we see these lows get taken out impulsively, then we can see prices moving to the downside. So currently we haven't taken out these lows. Now this is where it gets really interesting. So we're looking at this psychological level here of 110 flat. If you look at this critically, we haven't tested this area, like we haven't tested the psychological level. We came close to the psychological level, but we didn't actually test it. So my primary bias again is for prices to test that psychological level. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm just going to zoom in again, so we'll look at it. Hold on, I'm going to zoom in, so we'll look at it again. So looking at this right here, I'm going to put this right here. So my primary bias again on the DXY is for us to test the psychological level of 110. So look at this area right here. We have these highs right here, and this is the highest point price came to. So after having this violation, so once we had the violation coming in, we had price moving up and inability again to test the psychological level. So you have this movement right here, impulsive move to the upside. You have a psychological level of 110, price didn't test 110. You had a violation coming in, price didn't test 110. So there's just a lot of like stop losses above those areas that price has to go and take out. So you can call it liquidity sweeps and all those things, but it's just the way price moves. So it's going to give you this false impression that it's moving away, but eventually it has to come back to an area like that. So just looking at this, where is price at and where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So price is currently trading between 110 flat and 100 right here, 100 flat. So where is price most likely going to gravitate to? We have this psychological level here of 110 flat. So that's my primary bias. I still need to see prices moving to the upside, taking out 110, taking out this area and taking out this highs as well. So that's my primary bias on the DXY. I still have this bullish bias on the DXY for prices to move to the upside and test 110 to take out these highs right here. We created these highs and we created these highs as well. So price has to take out this area, price has to test the psychological level, and inability for prices to go above 110, then I'll say there's a high possibility we might see prices moving again to the downside. So that's my primary bias on the DXY. Now you can look at this on the 8-hour time frame. So last week this is what we was looking at, and I'm happy because I still have this on the chart. So I was looking at this last week and price was taking out these highs. So if you look at it right here, price was taking out this highs. So price took out these highs, and at the time I think price was around here, and I was expecting prices to take out these highs, pull back and give us a structure like this. So it didn't play out this way. So we had price taking out these highs, we had this area taken out, so we had this impulsive move, and then we had sellers coming back in to crash again and take out this area. So I'm just going to clean this and show you guys again what we're looking at right here. So let's take this out. Let's take this out and then we'll just do a quick analysis again from the 8-hour time frame. All right, now you're looking at this on the 8-hour time frame. So from the daily time frame, you have this impulsive move, you had a violation, and you had price coming up giving you this area right here. So looking at this on the 8-hour time frame, I'm going to take this out as well. Looking at this on the 8-hour time frame is the same analysis we had on the daily time frame. So what am I expecting? We have these highs right here, we haven't taken out these highs, and we have these highs right here, we haven't taken out these highs, and we have this psychological level here of 110. So that's my primary bias again. The same thing we're looking at on the 8-hour time frame is the same thing I explained to you guys on the daily time frame. So what's my expectation right now? What are the areas price is most likely going to test? I still have this bias for price to test the psychological level of 110. Now this is very important, because if this bias starts coming in, you'll understand why we'll still have sales on, let's say we're still looking at sales on those other pairs like US30, NAS100, S&P and gold. So look at this structure right here. When you look at this piece of price action, so you had this impulse right here, impulse, you had a violation, there's been an inability for prices to move past an area like this. So if I clean this, so you're looking at this piece right here, price hasn't taken out this area. So in as much as you have sellers coming in, you had this initial attempt from the sellers, you had a crash violation from this area, and this was the highest point price got to in terms of the lows. Now you had an impulsive move from the buyers, sellers reacted from that, but again you had an inability for prices, to go through this area. So when you look at this, it's just price action. What is price telling you? How is price moving? You had this massive move to the upside, you had a violation, cool. So once you have a violation, you're expecting prices to sell. Now buyers step in, sellers come in again, but there's still this inability for prices to take out this area. So what is this telling you? So now you have your primary principles you're working with. You're working with your psychological levels and you're working with your trend lines. So you're looking at this piece of price action and you're saying, this is what price is telling me and this is how price is moving. So in as much as I'm expecting the sales to come in, but price is showing me like there's this inability for prices to move below an area like this. There's an inability for prices to move below an area like this. So going off of this, you know there's a high possibility then you'll see prices, let's say, giving you a pullback, something like this, and you start seeing prices moving again to the upside. So this right here is my primary bias on the DXY. Now, am I correct all the time? No, but what's the importance of doing a focus like this? Once you have a primary focus thing, so let's say you're coming into next week and you're anticipating price moving this way. If price does something completely different, so let's say price starts moving in the opposite direction, it's very easy for you to hop in and look at positions in the opposite direction because you had this initial bias to the upside. So if price starts doing something different from this, you're already prepared. Like, you're better off compared to somebody who just comes in on Monday or Tuesday and starts looking at prices and you're trying to figure out what price is trying to do. But if you take your time over the weekend, you ask yourself just simple questions. Where is price at? Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? What psychological levels do you have? What trend lines do you have to guide the movement to the psychological levels? Once you put these principles together, it makes it completely easy. And this is it. This is what I'm looking at right here. Nothing complex, nothing complicated like that. You just have this initial movement to the upside. You have this violation. There's an inability for prices to move to the downside, and price is showing you this inability right here. There's this inability for prices to move to the downside. So it makes it completely easy for you to then look at this piece of price action and say, if there's an inability for price to move to the downside, where is price most likely going to gravitate to? It's going to go back to the psychological level of 110. It's most likely going to take out an area like this, and it's most likely going to take out an area like this, so we can get a test of this area. Very simple. That's my analysis. That's my focus. If price does something completely different, that's fine. Now, I don't control how the price moves, but at least I can control my analysis. I can control my focus. I can control my thought process. And if price does something completely different, then I'm just going to reanalyze and align my price action with what's happening currently. So that's it right there. So I can take this out just to make it clean. Now, looking at this again, there's a high possibility you might see prices coming back to an area like this, testing an area like this, and you see maybe an inability at this point. And so let's put this. Now this is a little bit too, like, it's just like an advanced structure thing. You might see price testing this area, an inability, and you see prices moving again to the downside, something like this. So there's still this possibility, but this again right here is just an advanced structure move right there. So you can see something like this. And if you see this happening, it doesn't change the fact that there's still an inability for prices to move past an area like this. And this is how ranges form. So once you start looking at this space right here, movement to the upside, inability, movement to the upside, inability, you'll see price moving to this area, inability. Your anticipation at this point again is for prices to then move to the upside, because once you have a range, so you're looking at this massive structure, there's a pullback, and then the range forms and you see price moving to the upside. So that's how these ranges come about, and that's how you can trade within the ranges. That's how you can anticipate the ranges as well. So that's what I'm looking at. But again, let's keep this simple. So let's take this out and just say we're expecting prices to move all the way to 110. So that is it right there. That's my analysis, and that's my focus on the DXY. So that's what I'm expecting. So we need to take out this area right here, and we need to take out this area right here. So let's keep it simple, and I'm just going to stay on the 8-hour time frame. There's no need looking at, let's say, the 4-hour time frame and the hourly time frame, because you have this understanding of what's happening already on the daily time frame. You've seen what's happening on the 8-hour time frame. Now you're just looking for this directional bias thing on the DXY, and this right here is my directional bias. There's no need stepping down, let's say, to the 4-hour time frame and the hourly time frame. So just looking at this, I can already tell an inability for prices to go through this area. I'm expecting buyers to step in again. So that's it right there. That's my focus on the DXY. So if price starts moving to the upside, this tells you one thing. you can look for sales on those other pairs: US30, NAS100, the S&P, and gold. So once you have a primary bias like this on the DXY, what you're telling yourself, or what the questions you're asking yourself is there any pair, let's say US30, NAS100, that has a potential to sell? Because if you have this movement to the upside, then you probably, or you're most likely looking for sales on those other pairs. So that's something to keep at the back of your mind. So once you step down to those other pairs, once you start looking at other pairs, ask yourself, is there a possibility for me to see sales? So going over what's happening on the DXY, can I see sales on those other pairs? So that's something you can do. All right, guys, so that's it for the DXY, and we'll look at the other pair in a bit. Alright guys, let's look at the first pair, and this is US30. So this is US30 right here on the daily time frame. Now my analysis on US30 remains the same, coming like, let's say, from last week, and you've seen what the DXY is trying to do. I have this bullish bias on the DXY. My analysis on US30 remains the same. So this right here, I had an initial sell on US30 last week, and I had to close this because the DXY was doing like this massive push to the downside, and I knew some buyers was going to come in. So you see like this movement right here with price moving to the upside. If I held my position on US30, it might have taken me out. So this is what I'm looking on the US30. This is a daily time frame. So what structure are we playing with? Where is price at, and where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So you're looking at this impulsive move right here. You're looking at this consolidation. Price takes off. You have a pullback right here. There's been an inability for prices to go above this area, I think, for like 2 weeks now. So price is currently stuck around 45,000. That's a psychological level we have around there, 45,000. You're looking at this psychological level. Where is the next psychological level price can gravitate to? It's 40,000. Is there a trend line that is going to prevent this movement from happening, or that's going to slow this movement? And you have this trend line right here. So looking at it from the daily time frame, it makes it completely easy again. My initial bias on this pair was to see prices moving to the downside, and I still have this bias on US30, so it remains the same. I'm not switching it for anything, at least not for now. So my bias on US30 again is to see prices moving to the downside. We just saw what's happening on the DXY, so there's a high possibility the DXY is moving to the upside. Now stick with that bias on the DXY and look at a pair like US30. There's a high possibility as well this guy has to drop again to the downside. It's just the way price moves. So you're looking at this inability right here. We had price moving to the upside. We had this psychological level tested. That's 45,000. We had this level tested. We had this reaction from the sellers. We had buyers coming in again here. First attempt again from the buyers to take out 45,000. There was this inability from the buyers to take out 45,000. It's just price action at this point. What is price doing? How is price reacting at this key levels, point of interest? So how is price reacting at this point of interest? Is it going through this area? Is it facing difficulties? So you had this movement here, an inability from the buyers to go through this area. You had price taking, like there was a pullback again, and another attempt again from the buyers, and this inability again for buyers to take out an area like this. So once you look at this, how does price move? It's a very simple structure thing for me. You have an impulse, you have a correction, you have an impulse, you might have a correction like this, and you see price moving to the upside. So here's my anticipation on this pair right now. So we had this impulsive move, you had a pullback, and you had this movement to the upside. Now you've had this inability for prices to go through 45,000. So just looking at this, how do you think price is going to move, or where do you think price is most likely going to gravitate to? It has to be to an area like this, to this trend line. So price has to move again to the downside just to get, let's say, a better discount, to get better prices, so the buyers can reattempt again and get this impulsive or this explosive movement to the upside. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm expecting prices to sell again all the way to this trend line, and then we see buyers attempting again, because every time price comes to this area right here, to this trend line, you're expecting the movement to the upside. So we can look at this on lower time frames. For example, let's say the 8-hour time frame. I'm just going to claim this. We'll step down to the 8-hour time frame. So this is what I was looking at the 8-hour time frame. Now this analysis remains the same. So I was expecting, so we had, let's say, I'll show you guys on the 4-hour time frame, but we had a minor trend on the 4-hour time frame. So this, I'll show you guys. So I'm gonna take this out, or I can keep this. So on the 4-hour time frame, this is what I was expecting. So you have price taking these areas out, making higher highs and higher lows. So you had this movement to the upside, you had a break, pullback, retest, testing this area here, 45,000, and we're expecting prices to move to the downside. So I'm going to show you guys this on the 4-hour time frame really quick. So I was expecting this sell. So if you remember, I had my sales in on this pair on US30. So this is what was looking on US30. Now I closed this sales already. So let's take this out. So this is what was looking on US30. It was a very simple trade setup thing. So you had a trend line right here. So this was the trend line I was looking at. So how was price moving? So you had this movement to the upside, highs and lows, 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 highs and lows right here. And there was an inner belief of prices to take out 45,000. So at the time, this is what I was looking at, and I was expecting prices to, let's say, get a violation of this area. So you have this movement to the upside. Once you see this violation coming in, I was waiting for, let's say, a pullback thing or a slow movement. I think I saw an entry on the hourly time frame to then take this sales to an area like this. So the reason I closed this is just because the DXY was moving again to the downside, and at the time I was looking at this piece right here, and I was expecting this prices to move, let's say, to the upside, giving us a structure thing like this. So that's why I closed my sales on US30, but currently I think we're still selling. So just looking at US30 right now, where do you think price is most likely going to gravitate to? And again, we've set this on the 8-hour time frame. It's the same thing we mentioned on the daily time frame. We're expecting prices to move to the downside. So I'm going to take this out. So let's put this, let's say, in the hourly, stuff like this. Get this. All right, cool. So this is what we're looking at on US30. So where is price most likely going to gravitate to? And again, it's very simple. I'm expecting prices to move down to an area like this, and then we can see buyers stepping in again, taking prices to the upside. So right now, the first area price is going to take out, or most likely going to take out, is an area like this. So if price takes out this area, it makes it completely easy. Now, I'm going to show you guys my thought process around here and the possible buys I can do as well. So as price starts moving to the downside, I'm anticipating a movement all the way to this trend line right here. So this is what price can do. So I'm going to put this right here. This is like my primary buyers thing, to see prices moving all the way to this trend line and for us to take prices to the upside. So let's say we see prices moving again, taking out this area, and there's an inner belief of prices to test this trend line, because there's a possibility price can do something like this. Then you might see prices again moving to the upside. So this right here is another possibility. So there's two ways we can buy right here. There's two ways we can look at the buys. So the first one, you see prices moving all the way to the downside, and for us to take the buys. So I'm going to show you guys real quick right here. So there's two ways. One, you can see buyers coming in from an area like this. I have a stop loss thing around here. So this is the first buy thing I'm looking at. So something like this, 2.95, almost 1:3. And also there's a possibility we might see prices coming down lower to an area like this. So this right here is still another possibility, and for us to see prices moving again to the upside. So one gives you, let's say, a deeper pullback, and one gives you a shallow pullback. So if you look at this entries right here, so this is shallow, and this, like, you look at the risk to reward on this is like 2.95. And if you look at this, let's say price gives you a deeper pullback, we're looking at price taking out these highs and even moving higher. So this is already going to give you like 6 to, let's say, 8 or even 9%. While if you look at a shallow one, it's going to give you like, let's say, 3%. So it just depends on how price decides to pull back. So this is something I'll pay attention to, and I'm not currently starting the sales. I closed my sales already, but I'm still waiting for the pullback to come in. And while waiting for this pullback to come in, it can come in, let's say you get a shallow pullback, and that's the first attempt right there. And if price decides to go a little bit lower, testing this trend line thing, then I'm still going to take the buy. So there's like two possibilities right now. I can look at those buys around an area like this. So Again, let's say you look at something like this, you get this impulse and you get this movement right here, and there's an inability for prices to go through this area. So we're looking at the buys right here. So all this is telling you is there's a potential range occurring right here, and you want to buy at the bottom of the range. So you're looking for buys around an area like this to take it to the upside. And if this fails and you see price coming deeper, then you can take this buys as well. So that's why I have two possibilities right there. So one, the initial one right here is just like I'm trying to buy within this range thing that's gonna form in here. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to buy at the bottom of the range, and if price does something else, so let's say price moves a little bit lower, it goes deeper, then I'm going to take the second position, which is trading from an area like this, taking prices to the upside. So you just have to look at price and ask yourself, what is price doing and how can you get involved and stuff like that. It makes it completely easy. I'm just gonna keep this on the chart, and so we can look at this next week as well. So that's what I'm looking at, guys, and I think it's very easy. Keep it simple, don't get your analysis too complex. And again, guys, just to make it completely easy for you, while you're looking at this pullbacks coming to the downside, pay attention to what's happening on the DXY, because if you have those buys on the DXY, then you probably understand why these pullbacks are coming in on these other pairs. So that's it for US30, and let's look at the next one. So this is NAS100, so this is on the 8-hour time frame. Let's put this on the daily. So let's start on the daily. Let's see what's happening on the daily. Now, the price action remains the same, and this is what we've been analyzing every single time. So how is price moving? Where is price headed to? Where is price at? And where is price most likely going to gravitate to? You have your impulse correction, impulse, deeper correction thing, and you have everything right here. There's an impulsive move, and you have a correction right here. So how is price moving? So that's how price is moving. Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So this is what I'm looking at right here, and it makes it again completely easy. So you're looking at this right here. You have an impulse, you have a correction, similar movement to what happened on gold, I think last week or last 2 weeks. You had this impulse, you had this correction giving you something like a range. You remember I mentioned this on US30 as well. You can anticipate this range is forming, and you need to understand what you're looking for and how price is playing out. So you have something like a range right here. So where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So just looking at this, you had a pivot point set right here. So you had this impulsive move. There's some kind of a range forming right here. If we see the sales coming in, we might see the sales taking out an area like this, moving all the way to this area, and for us to see prices moving to the upside. So this is what we're looking at right here. For these lows to get taken out or tested and something like this. So you might see price coming back down. You see this, and you see a movement thing like this to the upside. So that's my primary bias on NAS100. Just looking at this from the daily time frame, looking at the bigger picture. How is price moving? Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? What structure is price giving you? Is there a trend line you can work with? Now, what are the psychological levels I'm looking at on this pair? So the upper one, I'm looking at this right here, 25,000 or 25,000 flat, and this psychological level up 20,000 flat. So you might see price coming back. Let's say you get an impulsive movement like this, and you see price testing this psychological level right here, giving you this perfect confirmation thing, and that's massive as well. And that's only if you get the sales coming into an area like this and testing this area. Now that's a possibility. Now price might just pull back a little bit, and you start seeing like the movement again to the upside. But personally, I would like to see this movement coming down, let's say deeper, so we can test the trend line and test the psychological level thing as well. Because if you have the trend line tested, you have the psychological level tested, and there's an inability for prices to move to the downside. Once you have this inability for prices to move to the downside, then I'm expecting prices to move again to 25,000. So that right there is my analysis. That right there is my focus thing on NAS100. And again, this is just on the daily time frame. And sometimes once you have this bigger picture move, it becomes very easy for you. Like, you're not looking at the minor structures and getting confused. And all you have to do sometimes is just wait for prices to pull back, giving you, let's say, a deeper correction, or giving you a better price, better discount. It depends on how you want to call it. So this is it right here. So you can step down to the 8-hour time frame. So the same thing, this is what I was looking at last week. So we're expecting a movement to the downside and then a push to the upside. So here's the reason why I didn't take any positions on NAS100 and the S&P 500, because you need to have a game plan and you need to stick to your game plan. So my game plan on this pair is just waiting for these pullbacks to come in. And when you look at this structure right here, so you look at this range right here, if you don't take care, like if you're trying to trade within these ranges and you don't understand what price is doing, it's going to chop you out like crazy. So you need to be very careful once you start trading like the ranges. So the best way to trade ranges is you want to take the buys at the bottom like this, or you want to take the sells at areas like this. Now if you find yourself trading at the middle, like if you find yourself trading within this area like this, it's very risky because price can weak you out, move to the upside, weak you out, move to the downside, weak you out, and move again to the upside. So it's very risky once you start trading within the ranges. It's always better for you to wait for prices to pull back the bottom of the range, then you can take the buy. So you wait for prices to get to the top of the range and you take the sells. So this is it. My analysis again on NAS100. I'm waiting for these pullbacks to come in and I'm gonna look at this buy. So when you look at this, if we get a pullback thing, so you get price pulling back to an area like this, psychological level right here, there's a trend line thing right here, pivot point set, and we're looking at the buys. If you can be patient and you wait for these pullbacks to come in, giving you a good price, giving you a perfect discount, then you might see prices moving to the upside and you're looking at something like this, let's say 1:10. And all you had to do is stay patient and wait for prices to pull back. So that's it for me. That's my analysis on NAS100. I just have to wait for these prices to pull back, then I can look for the buys again to the upside. Now you need to understand what's happening on the daily. So if we move like this, you look at this on the daily time frame. So what price is doing right now, there's a potential, let's say, range right here. So you're looking at this as a range and you're asking yourself, how is price going to trade within this range thing? So if I do something like this, so let's zoom in. So how is price trading within this range? So price is moving to the upside and I believe price comes back to the downside. So the only way for you to buy again, you wait for prices to move down, then you take the buys. And as price moves again to the downside to test the bottom of this range, it might take out this lows, it might test this psychological level right here, it might test this trend line. It doesn't change anything. You still have prices moving to the bottom of the range. It might weak you out. So let's look at this. So you might see prices coming down, doing something like this, taking out this area, then moving to the upside. It doesn't change anything. You're still looking for buys around an area like this. That's the most important thing. So if price does something like this, yeah, it's taking out the stop losses, it's testing this trend line, it's testing the psychological level. It's just the same thing. You're waiting for the prices to pull back, giving you a better discount so you can take the buys again to the upside, and it makes it completely easy. So that's what I'm looking on this pair right here. And again, we can just keep everything on the chart and I'll look at this again next week. So let's see how this plays out. So just stay a little bit patient, guys. And sometimes you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit and watch how price is moving, and that might be the best thing to do sometimes. So just wait for prices to move to the downside, wait for the pullbacks to come in. Then once you see these pullbacks coming in, you wait for the inability. You see this inability for prices to move to the downside, then you can launch and take the buys again to the upside. So that's it. That's what I'm looking at. On the 8-hour time frame, same thing, waiting for prices to move again to the downside so we can look for the buys. And on the 4-hour time frame, same thing. So you can look at this piece of price action, you can step down to the hourly. It's just going to be like the same movement thing. You're seeing the same thing, and there's no need going all the way to the hourly time frame, because the hourly time frame is like my entry time frame. So on this pair, I'm just going to stay, let's say, on the 8-hour time frame. Once prices move to an area like this, once we see prices moving to an area like this, then I'll step down to the hourly time frame to get those confirmations and look for my entries. So that's it for me on NAS100. It's not very complex. It's a wait game thing. It's all about patience, all about waiting for those pullbacks to come in, wait for those confirmations, then you can take the buys again to the upside. All right, guys, so that's it for me on NAS100. All right, guys, let's look at the S&P 500. And you know there's something in trading, yeah? There's nothing that beats preparation. So once you're prepared for a move, and you just have to sit back and watch how price is coming, like how price is pulling back for you to take a buy or for you to take a sell. There's nothing that beats preparation, because once you prepare for a move and you see this price delivering the way you want it, you can go all in. You can risk 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, because you was patient enough just to sit and see how price is playing out. You had this patience just to sit and see how price is pulling back. You had this directional bias thing, you had this anticipation, you had these moves you was expecting. And once price delivers and gives you the same move that you've been anticipating, it makes it completely easy for you to go all in. So that's it right here. So here's the S&P 500, here's on the daily time frame. Similar movement to what's happening on the DX on NAS100 and US30. So you're looking at the structure thing, it's just an impulse, you have a correction, price pulled back to an area like this, impulse again, an inability. So we're expecting prices to test the psychological level, we're expecting prices to test the trend line, and we're expecting prices to move all the way to the upside. So where's the next psychological level price has to get to? It has to be 6,500. Where is the closest psychological level price can test? It has to be this one right here, 6,000 flat. And an inability for prices to go through this area, we're expecting prices to move again to the upside, 6,500 flat, and that's it. Very simple. Again, just looking at it from the higher time frame, where is price at? Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? Now you might be struggling and you're trying to do like, you know, like the gymnastic thing within this area. You're looking for buys, you're looking for sells, and all you have to do is just zoom out. So you're looking at this on the daily time frame. All you have to do, string these charts like this, like zoom out, and you see this impulsive movement like this, and you're waiting for this to happen. You're waiting for this to happen and for price to move again to the upside. Sometimes all you have to do is just zoom out and ask yourself, what's price doing on these higher time frames? You don't have to look for entries every single day. You don't have to look for entries every single session. Sometimes you have to zoom out and ask yourself, what's price doing and where's price most likely going to gravitate to? And it makes it somewhat completely easy. So this is what I'm looking at. So I'm expecting prices to have a test again of this psychological level of 6,000, test this trend line, and for us to see prices moving again to the upside. Remember what's happening on the DXY. The DXY has its potential. I'm going to show you real quick. That's it. So this is my analysis on the DXY. It has its potential to move to the upside. And because of this piece of price action right here, I'm very confident looking at this pair and saying, all right, cool. I'm going to be patient a little bit and see how price is going to pull back to this psychological level, or price pulling back to this trend line, and the inability for prices to take out this trend line, this psychological level, and everything that's happening. Then I'm expecting a movement thing again to the upside. That's a very easy analysis right there. So this is on the daily time frame. You can look at this on the 8-hour time frame as well. All right, cool. So this was the analysis we had last week on the 8-hour time frame. So we had this price moving to the upside and pulling back to an area like this, and this was the analysis we had last week. Was anticipating an inability for prices to go through this trend line thing right here. An inability for this was expecting this movement like this to the upside. So this didn't happen, so we can clean this. So let's take this initial bias off. So we take out this initial bias and we come back. Now we have two right here. Now the second alternative we was looking at was for prices to pull back to this trend line, and we'll get a movement thing again to the upside. So this didn't happen like that, so I'm going to take this out. So currently we have this piece right here. So this is what we're playing with. I'm going to put this right here. So with this one, was expecting a breach of this trend line. We'll see prices pulling back and we'll see prices coming again to the downside. So currently I think this is the only thing that makes sense. I'm just going to fix this right here. So you can look at something like this. You get a violation thing right here. You see price moving up to give you that test, and again we're still looking for this consolidation to come in. So this is what we're looking at right here. So I'm going to keep this on the chart. So this is what we're looking at right here. You get a breach of this area, you see price coming back up. So I'm still expecting prices to sell, to come down, and let's look at this. So we're expecting prices to sell, maybe a test of this area, and you see price is moving to the upside. So if I had to, let's say this on the 8-hour time frame, we might look at buys on this pair, something like this. So this is my analysis right here, and I'm still expecting prices to move to the upside. So that's 1:7, something like this. So I'm just expecting prices to give me, let's say, an inability for prices to move to the downside, and so we can look at the buys. Now, same thing with what's happening on NAS100. You need to be patient and wait for prices to pull back. So when you look at a structure like this, I'll take out this trend line. So let's take out this trend line. So when you look at a structure like this, what is price actually doing? So look at this piece right here. So you have this movement right here to the upside, and you have this. So price is giving you the same thing you're looking at on NAS100. It's this range thing. And once you have a range, so let's say you have price moving to the upside. You know what I'm gonna use? Let's say I'm gonna use this. So you have price moving to the upside, you get a pullback thing, and an inability for price to go. You start seeing something like this. If you was moving to the upside, that's what you're expecting right there. So you see this forming, you get a range thing right here, and you get this right here. So that's how price moves. It's not a complex thing. It's easy. Once you've seen this happening multiple times, it becomes easy for you to look at it and anticipate, all right, cool, this is what price is trying to do. I know we're moving to the upside, and I see what you're trying to do right here. So it's the same thing we're looking at right here. We have this movement again to the upside. You had a pullback, and price is somewhat forming a consolidation around an area like this. So if you zoom in to an area like this, and this is on the 8-hour time frame, same thing. You have an impulse, pullback. Price is most likely going to range around an area like this. You're waiting for prices to pull back to this area. Now, as price pulls back to this area, price might take out this lows right here, testing this trend line, and then you see prices moving again to the upside thing. So it's just the same thing with what's happening on NAS100, but like the key takeaway from this is wait for prices to pull back. Just like be patient, just wait for prices to pull back, giving you better prices, giving you a better discount, then you can take buys again to the upside. Now there's certain areas you need to watch out for. This psychological level right here, if price goes through the psychological level, now the next area you're watching out for is this trend line. So psychological level right there, trend line right here. If price takes out the psychological level, pay attention to these lows. If price takes out this lows, pay attention to the trend line. An inability for these sellers to move to the downside. Once you see this inability, then we're taking prices again to the upside, and you can hold those buys again, let's say for like 2 weeks. If you get perfect entries, it might give you, let's say, a minimum of 1:7, because if you get like perfect entries, you might see, let's say, 1:10 from a movement like that. So be patient again, guys, and wait for prices to come back to you. So that's on the 8-hour time frame, and if we look at this on the 4-hour time frame, all right, cool. So we had this already from last week, so I'm just gonna take one out, go and keep this one right here. So this is what we're looking at right here. Wait for prices to pull back, and let's put something like this. So wait for prices to pull back, giving us this corrective movement right here, an inability, and we're expecting prices to move again to the upside. Now, price is not going to do like the exact same thing, but the fact that you've been able to do the market focus thing, the fact that you've been able to analyze, anticipate, and ask yourself simple question, where is price at, and where is price most likely going to gravitate to? If price starts doing something completely different, you're ready, like you're prepared. You know, if it does the opposite thing, I know how to engage, I know how to participate in the movement, thing like that. So it makes it like completely easy. Again, there's nothing that beats preparation in this game. Just being prepared, just looking at price, staying active, like playing the scenarios out. If price starts selling, this is what I'm expecting. If price starts buying, this is what I'm expecting. If price starts consolidating, this is what I'm expecting. Again, it makes it completely easy. Just having this bias thing, having this focus thing, it makes it completely easy. So that's the S&P 500, and I'm expecting the sales on the S&P 500. Primary reason, again, because of what's happening on the DXY. That's what's giving me this, let's say, the courage to say price is going to drop down on the S&P 500. Then we can look for the buys again. If it like, let's say if the opposite happens, that's fine. And if I don't see an opportunity to take the buys, that's okay. You wait for the next best opportunity to get in. And there's nothing wrong with, let's say there's nothing wrong with you just sitting and looking at how price is moving without taking these positions. Because if you don't have a setup, there's no need for you to put your capital at risk. So don't risk your capital for structures that don't make sense. If you see the proper structure thing, like you see the proper setup, then you can risk 1%, 2% of your capital and see if you can take the buy. So that's it for me on the S&P 500. So let's look at the last one, and that has to be gold. So this is gold on the daily time frame. Now this is still moving to the upside like crazy. So what's the structure thing on gold? How is price moving? Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? Are there any psychological levels you can look at? Is there any trend line thing you can look at? So those are the questions you need to ask yourself. All right, so let's go with the first question. Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? So looking at this on the daily time frame, if you made this forecast last, let's say 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, and you said price is going to move all the way to 3,000, people look at you and say, oh, you're a little bit crazy. We'll tell you price is going to take out this area right here, because this was the highest point gold had gotten to, I think, an area like this. And people might look at you and say you're crazy, or you're saying something without any backing. Now, you don't need any backing on this. Price moves in like simple structures, so you can use this structure move and anticipate where price is going to. Price is going to move to the upside, pull back, giving you a structure thing like this, and the movement again to the upside. It's just the same way. Price keeps repeating these things. So when I saw something like this, it was very easy for us to say, all right, price is headed to like 3,000. So you look at this piece right here, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse again. You can see the correction. And where is price headed to? Price is headed to 3,000. So it's not a very complex thing. It's a very simple approach to look at price. So you're looking at this right now, we've taken out these highs. So as price is moving to the upside, there's still a possibility we might see sales coming in and for prices to move again to the upside. So this is on the daily time frame, and this is going to take time for us to see these pullbacks coming in to this trend line on the daily time frame. So while you're looking at this on the daily time frame, you have a bigger picture thing in mind. Now you can step down to lower time frame. So let's step down to the 8-hour time frame right here. So this is what I was expecting on gold last week, and again we had two possibilities, and price decided to take the other one. So I was expecting prices to have a break of this area, giving us a test so we can take this sell. So this didn't happen, so I can take this out. So we're looking at this again. Where is price headed to? Price is headed again to 3,000. And how is price moving to an area like this? Price is taking out these highs progressively. So you see, price is taking out these highs, giving you those pullbacks. Price made a high. So again, we're expecting a pullback for prices to move again to the upside. So we was expecting the sales last week, but we didn't get those sales. So now looking at this on the 8-hour time frame, you can step down to lower time frames and look for these sales to this trend line on the 8-hour time frame, so you can take the buys again to the upside. Now let's arrange this so it looks like proper. So let's put something like this. So I'm just extending the trend line thing right there. So same piece of price action we're looking at, and we can step down, let's say, to the 4-hour time frame. So let's put this on the 4-hour time frame. Now look at this on the 4-hour time frame. How is price moving? Price is taking out highs, and then price is pulling back and then taking out highs again. So looking at this piece right here, you have everything like this on the 4-hour time frame. That's your impulse to the upside. Now what you're expecting prices to come back to an area like this, an inner belief of prices to go through an area like this. You're expecting a movement again to the upside. Remember, what the DXY is doing is going to help you. If the DXY starts moving to the upside, you should expect a pair like gold to then move to the downside. So this is what I'm expecting on gold, and this is on the 4-hour time frame. So I'm expecting a movement like this on gold. So let's say we take out this area right here. So let's say we start pulling back, take out those areas, and there's an inability, and you can see prices moving to the upside. So my analysis on this pair is quite simple, or it's quite easy. It's not complex. Wait for prices to pull back to an area like this, and we're looking for buys again to the upside. This right here, 1:7. Again, it's not complex, it's just you waiting, just playing the wait game on these pairs. Wait for the pullbacks to come in, look for that inability. Once you see the inability, then you can take the buys again to the upside. So this is what I'm expecting on this pair, and like we're taking this all the way to 3,000. So I'll put 3,000 right here. So that's like 1:7. And let's see if we have something on the hourly time frame. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Normally I don't like looking at the hourly time frame unless I'm taking my entries. So I only look at the hourly time frame once I see price pulling back to my area of interest or the point of interest for me. And once price pulls back to areas like this, then I'll step down to lower time frames like the hourly time frame, which is my entry time frame, and then I'll look for these entry confirmations on the hourly time frame. So this is what I'm looking at on this time frame, and it makes it completely easy. Again, remember what's happening on the daily time frame right here. So let's put this, we'll keep this on the hourly, take this off this. Yeah, so this is it again on the daily time frame. The movement thing on the daily time frame, you have your impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction, and we're expecting prices to move all the way to 3,000. So where is price currently trading at? It's currently trading between 2,500 and 3,000. Where is price most likely going to gravitate to? Price is most likely going to gravitate to 3,000. How is price going to move to 3,000? You can step down to the 8-hour time frame and you look for a trend line that's going to help you make these decisions. So now you have your trend line. So the trend line is there to guide your movement thing to the upside. So if you get price pulling back to the trend line, you're looking for these inabilities around the trend line. And an inability for price to go through this trend line, you're expecting a bounce off of that area. If you have a pivot point that's been set already, you can use this pivot point, expect prices to bounce off of these areas and move again to the upside. Now, this is my analysis. This is what I believe in. I believe in the psychological levels and the trend lines. That's the only thing I look at. Now, you might look at it completely different. So let's say you're looking at a fair value gap thing, you're looking at an imbalance. Again, it's correct. If it works for you, that's fine. So use whatever means you can use just to understand how price is moving and to get returns out of your movement thing or out of your position. So like, do anything possible to understand how price moves. Use any strategy out there, use any concept out there. But personally, I'm using psychological levels and I'm using trend lines. The psychological levels help me to determine the bias thing, like the direction thing. Where is price headed to? So just looking at this right now, with everything that's happening right here, looking at this, it's easy for me to say price is headed to 3,000. Now I can bring in this trend line right here to guide the movement to that area. So if price is headed to 3,000 and it starts pulling back and there's an inability for prices to break out of this trend line, then all I have to do is look for buying opportunities again to the upside. So this right here is on the 8-hour time frame. You move again to the, let's say, a lower time frame like the 4-hour time frame. I'm looking at the same trend line thing right there. And how is price moving? You're seeing pullbacks to areas like this, and price is just respecting this. Now price trades away from this area. Once price trades away from that trend line, which is what we saw on the 8-hour time frame, so it's giving you a swing move. Now this swing move on lower time frame is a trend. So I'm going to show you guys this. So the swing move on lower time frames is a trend. So let's look at this on the hourly, for example. So on the hourly time frame, you can say you have your trend line right here and price was moving to the upside. So that was your trend line thing on the hourly time frame. So how is price moving? Price was making highs and highs and highs, and you had lows as well. So once you get a break of this trend line, so we're still waiting for this trend line to get taken out. Once you see the violation of this trend line, you're waiting for a delivery to a higher time frame trend line, and you're expecting the movement again to the upside. So you wait for this trend line to get violated on lower time frames, let's say the hourly time frame. Once you get a violation, you're expecting prices to move to the upside. Now this is interesting. So let's have a look at this. So look at this. So I'm expecting prices to give us, let's say, a violation of this trend line. You get a delivery on a higher time frame and you see prices moving to the upside. Now that is one thing right there. Now what another possibility? So you could be looking at this. Price gets to an area like this. So price is moving back to areas like this. Price can get to this area and you see a continuation move again to the upside. So this is what I'm looking at. You see this inability right here, and for price to move again to the upside. So that's another possibility, because if price doesn't take out this trend line, if there's no violation of the trend line, then you can't have a delivery to the higher time frame. Price is just going to use this trend line and keep moving again to the upside. It's going to use that as a guide. So price is not moving to the upside because of the trend line, but we are making like this directional bias thing because of the trend line. So we're using the trend line, we're using the side levels to get this, to gauge the movement to the upside. So there's fundamental reasons explaining why price is moving to the upside. There's technical reasons explaining why price is moving to the upside. So the trend line thing is just like one technical tool we're using, but price has fundamental reasons for moving to the upside. And again, gold is a safe haven. So there's many things, like there's multiple things that can happen, but basic principles, again, psychological level, where is price headed to? 30,000. How can you gauge this movement to 3,000? You can use a trend line, and in a belief of price is to go below this trend line, you're expecting this trend line to support price moving to the upside. So that's the analysis thing right there for me on gold. I think it's quite easy. It's just a weight game thing as well. Now, I'm not going to take this buys on gold, and the simple reason is this movement on the DXY. So I still have this strong belief, I still have this conviction the DXY is going to move to the upside. I might be wrong, but looking at this, going off of my technical analysis, going off of the way I look at prices, the DXY is headed to 110. We should take out this area. We should take out this area, and we should have a test of 110. So going off of this principle, like going off of this structure on the DXY, it's really difficult for me to take the buys on gold right now. So I can see price moving, I can see this price is right here, but it's so difficult for me to take this buys because I'll be going against what's happening on the DXY and just the principle of correlation. So sometimes as well, you have the DXY moving to the upside, and you have gold moving to the upside. So normally you should see the DXY moving to the upside and gold moving to the downside, but those are rare conditions. So those are rare times when you have both moving to the, like both moving in the same direction. So I'm just gonna stand aside and see how price is pulling back, and we'll wait for this to happen. So the best interest for me is for this to happen. You get this pullback thing, movement to the upside, violation, you get a correction to an area like this, then we'll take prices again to the upside. So that's what I'm expecting right there on gold. And I'm just going to be patient and see if price can pull back, give us this delivery, let's say to the 8-hour trend line, and we'll take the buys from an area like that. All right guys, so that's it for me this week. Make sure you watch the previous week's market focus so you have an understanding as to what we've been doing and how we're looking at these prices moving from one cycle level to the next using the trend lines as well. And as usual, stay patient and trade consistently, and I'll see you during the next one. Bye for now.